Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Santa Paula City Council, May 20th, 2026. Here are the council chambers. We'll start with the invocation. Please stand if you're able. We have the Reverend Maddie Cifuentes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, staff, and all those here in the chamber with me, and those beyond in our virtual community this evening, let us briefly center in this moment with our neighbors, our leaders, our staff, and any who may be presenting to our meeting this evening. Will you pray with me? Gracious, loving God, Spirit of life and love, in these times which continue to be challenging, we are grateful to be together in this, our beloved community of Santa Paula, with all its gifts and its growing edges. We are especially aware this week of the early arrival of the fire season, when we send our prayers to all those affected by the nearby fires and in support of all of the responders. We pray as well for all beings in harm's way and those affected by the smoke and the air quality. We pray for our mayor, our city staff, and in particular for this assembled council. We are grateful, as always, for these leaders who serve our community, along with the staff who support them. We pray for the agenda set before them this evening. May our work this evening benefit the people and future of this community in the weeks going forward. May it be so. In the name of all that is holy. Amen.
Amen. Councilmember Ornelas, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Join me in the flag salute. Hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Madam Clerk, could you please do a roll call?
I'm here.
Councilmember Chavez. Here. Councilmember Ornelas.
Here.
Vice Mayor Crosswhite.
Here.
Mayor Juarez.
Present.
And Councilmember Cornejo is absent this evening.
Thank you. Our attorney, Monica Castillo, do we have a closed session report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to report on a closed session held on May 14th. There's a special meeting that was a closed session under Public Employee Performance Evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54957B1, Title City Manager 2026 Review. There are no reportable actions taken at that meeting. The other closed session report is from today's closed session. The council recessed in a closed session to discuss item 4A on the special agenda, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, the property located at east-southeast of Halleck Drive and Telegraph Road, known as the Triangle property. The agency negotiator was James Mason. The negotiating party is Xavier Magnan. Under negotiation was price and terms of payment. The second item that was in closed session was also a real property transaction. Conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54956.8 for property located at 180S South Palm Avenue. The agency negotiator was James Mason, and negotiating party is Farmers Irrigation Company. Under negotiation was price and terms of payment. There are no reportable actions under any of those closed session items.
Thank you very much for that closed session report. We have one public comment. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, please approach the clerk and fill out a public comment card. This is general public comment. We have Gladys Valdovinos.
Dear City Council, City Staff, and City Attorney, we are my name is Clarice Valdovinos, and I'm the president of the 400 Craig Drive Mobile Homeowners Association. We are here this afternoon because we want to express our sincere gratitude for giving the mobile homeowners an opportunity to provide their input and for collaborating with CAUSE and the Homeowners Association to organize the forums. Your leadership and dedication to our community are greatly appreciated. We want to thank Mr. Mason, Ms. Castillo, and the translator for narrating the forums, receiving community input, reviewing the statistics of the resident surveys, having an expert, and for reviewing the ordinance to all of the homeowners. We also want to thank the city staff for taking the step of ensuring that all mobile homes received a notice in the mail to the second community forum in a timely manner. The community forums were a great success. Our communities have been providing their input. Both forums filled the community center. There were about 150 residents from all of the parks who attended the first forum on short notice, and hundreds of residents who attended the second forum. This shows the great support from the community and their sharp attention to what's going on, as what is written in the ordinance directly affects our living conditions in the park and value of our homes. Hundreds of homeowners from all 7 parks attended the 2 forums, and a show of hands endorsed this proposal. Can I? Because of your efforts, the families in our neighborhoods now are better informed about what is needed in the mobile home rent stabilization ordinance. According to the survey, more than 3/4 of the homeowners have lived in the parks for over 10 years. I know that balancing the needs of a growing city is no small task, and your work does not go unnoticed by the thousands of residents who live in mobile home parks that you serve in town. We want to urge the City Council to schedule the City Council workshop on the ordinance amendments as soon as possible, so that a strong ordinance can be in place by the fall, before parks can submit applications for the next round of rent increase applications. So please schedule the City Council workshop as soon as possible. All mobile home parks are expecting a postcard notice of the City Council workshop in the mail, as it was mentioned in the community forum. Thank you again for listening to the needs of our community and for your continued public service. Please let us know how we can support it in the future. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I had a quick question.
Sure.
Just if the city manager, if you wouldn't mind during your report providing an update regarding a timeline in terms of what your what we would be expecting, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, we move on to presentation 7A, Public Works Recognition Week.
We do have one more, sorry, it's just turned in.
Thank you very much. So we have another general public comment. Carl Lawson. Good evening, Mr. Lawson.
Good evening. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. My name is Carl Lawson. I last addressed you, I believe, in October, November, regarding the mobile home rent stabilization ordinance, and at that time suggested that, recommended that the city conduct public outreach to see what kinds of amendments might be in the city's interest and the interest of the public for this ordinance. And I want to commend the staff and the city attorney, and Mr. Mason particularly. I did attend the second workshop that Ms. Valdovinos just referred to. I was one of the individuals who was participated in the 2 hearings that you're both very familiar, that you're all very familiar with, and it is very heartening to see a city take seriously its obligation to solicit input from members of the community. The workshops, as she indicated, were very well attended, and the city staff put on a truly excellent presentation. Mobile home rent stabilization is a system of administrative law. It's hard to distill it down to a few PowerPoint slides to explain to the general public, but Mr. Mason and Ms. Castillo did a superb job on that. I won't repeat what Ms. Valdovinos says about what's needed, and I believe she gave you a handout of the points there. But in a follow-up to the question that was just made about the timeline, I do have a handout here where we have summarized what we believe to be, and I'll give these copies to the city clerk for distribution, the timeline that is necessary that is necessary for the city to follow if it is going to truly make changes that will take effect before the next round of rent increases can be applied for, which is in this fall for the 2027 rent increases. And I urge you to take a look at that handout, and it boils down to this. The second reading on any amendments has to take place, if it's going to be in effect for next year, by September of this year. And there's several reasons for that, having to do with both state law and what the current ordinance says, and I've outlined those in that document which I've just presented. And we look forward, as representatives of the association representing the mobile home residents, and as someone who personally knows that it's very important for the city to have an ordinance that protects the city's interests, and reduces, minimizes possible legal exposure and litigation cost. We will continue to offer suggestions and to work with you, but we do request, as Ms. Valdivino said, that the city council session to study specific proposals, more than just bullet points, specific proposals, be scheduled as soon as possible. And we thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawson. City Manager, it might be prudent for our staff to utilize a backward timeline or a reverse calendar, so we make sure if we have timelines in the future that we anticipate any meetings or potential, outreach that we need to do. All right, thank you. Okay, that's all our public comment. We'll move on to item 7A, presentations, Public Works Week recognition. Is there a presentation or just the proclamation? Mr. Goodman?
I'm sure Mr. Goodman will say a few words, but mostly the intent was to have the council's recognition of our department, and he can share with you the series of events that the internal celebrating that's going on this week.
Very well. Then let me read the proclamation. This is National Public Works Week, May 17th through May 23rd, 2026, advancing quality of life for all. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Santa Paula. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works personnel who are engineers, managers, and field employees who are responsible for building, improving, and protecting our water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, roads, storm drains, and other structures and facilities essential for our community. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of Public Works professionals, and whereas the effectiveness and efficiency of Public Works departments depend greatly on public awareness, appreciation, and understanding of the essential services performed by the qualified and dedicated personnel who serve our community. And whereas it is in the public interest for the residents, civic leaders, and children in the city of Santa Paula to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of Public Works and Public Works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Santa Paula does hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Weeks, and do hereby call upon all Santa Paula residents, businesses, and civic organizations to pay tribute to our Public Works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. The city further dedicates this National Public Works Week to Joe Byram in recognition of his selfless and meaningful service and contributions to the city of Santa Paula. Dated this 20th of May, 2026, Carlos Juarez, Mayor of the city of Santa Paula. Congratulations, Dale Goodman, to your Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I was fortunate to become involved in Public Works about 25 years ago kind of fell into it. I didn't even know that there was such a thing. And then I was asked to work as a contract employee for a city and in Public Works, and I really found a home. Someplace where I felt really good about what I was doing, because I saw the impact immediately of of my labors on the citizens of a community and their welfare. And I've loved being in Public Works. And I work with a bunch of people here in the city of Santa Paula who also love being in Public Works and working for the benefit of the citizens of this community. We've had a few celebrations already this week. We're going to have a few more. And this year, as you mentioned in the proclamation, this year's Public Works Week was dedicated to Joe Byram, one of our employees who dedicated in excess of 16 years to serving the city of Santa Paula in Public Works. And besides being a great employee, he was just a really fine person. And I had the pleasure of serving with him for about a year and a half, and he is greatly missed by everybody. And so I appreciate him being mentioned and this being dedicated to him. I shouldn't have talked about it. But I want to express the gratitude of the employees in the Public Works Department for the opportunity that they have to serve, and for the support they receive from you as a council, and from the city manager and other members of city staff. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from council? Good.
Just thank you for what you do and for what everyone in the department does and all the years they've served here in Santa Paula. And thank you for sharing with us. That's it. I appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I mean, I'll just add, the Public Works Department are the ones that are in charge of a lot of the things that those of you watching at home or in this room care about: your water, your sewer, your streets, right? Like, a lot of those fundamental things are, I mean, you do more than that too, but those are some of the things that folks sitting at home will go, oh yeah, I want my toilet to flush and I want that to go away, and right? Like, some of those fundamental things that we take for granted are the things that your department is responsible for. So thank you.
We're just so excited about giving the department the resources and the tools you'll need, because I know you're going to have a very busy summer.
Yes.
And the community is going to be watching out for all that amazing activity that's coming to fruition because of their tax dollars and their support of Measure R. So thank you to your department, and we're looking forward to where we're going to be in 6 months from now, looking back and saying these last few years have been such a wonderful opportunity for the city to revitalize itself. So thank you and your department for doing that work and leading that effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it was my honor and privilege to mention Joe Byram being honored in this proclamation. He meant a lot to a lot of people. I knew him for a long time, and seeing you get a little emotional shows how much of a family you all are. So thank you. I'd like to take a picture with you and have the council join me.
Yep.
You want to hold that?
There we go.
Fixed it.
7B's pulled, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing? Yes. All right, thank you very much. The next item, 7B, the Santa Paula Water Recycling Facility Resiliency Project presentation has been pulled, so we're going to move on to 7C, the 2025 Housing Element Annual Progress Report. So, thank you. Mr. Mason?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In 2022, our required housing element was submitted to Department of Housing and Community.
Thank you. You're much taller than me.
And annually, we are to provide a report to the Department of Housing and Community Development. So just wanted to provide a summary of just the activities that have been put into place since then as far as development and policies in alignment with that, with those requirements. One thing I did want to highlight about the report, what is required to report to HCD is very convoluted and very extensive. But one thing I really want to give a shout out to the state. I've been in this state for 15 years, and there's been a lot of challenges working with the state of California coming from another state. And HCD, I've seen a marked difference in just their customer service and working through this process. They've been extremely helpful, and because it was a little challenge to get through our housing element, but where they are on this end of it, I'll have my third call with them tomorrow, just working through process and making sure that we're in alignment with what they need. It's it's refreshing to see government help government in the way that they're doing it. But in any event, the main thing I want to talk about is our requirements. You'll see within the staff report is a total of 657 units and really what that comes down to, as a city, we don't build housing, but we have the opportunity to be able to put processes in place that provide a smoother entitlement process to ensure that we can meet housing requirements. But there's two things that are really important about that. One is that the state has put requirements on us based on regional housing needs assessment through SCAG, and that says what we should have based on our population. But what's more important, as a policy body and as administrators of a city, understanding where our needs are within this community to ensure, regardless of what the state says, that we're meeting the needs of the population that we have. And I'm just really excited to say, based on the numbers that are required, we are 2 years into our process. And where we're headed right now, based on what's in the pipeline and what's been completed, we're well ahead of schedule. And and a lot of that has to do with the last few affordable projects that we have, and obviously what's happening at Harvest is meeting all of our market rate development demands. There is one gap that we really need to work on, and we've heard that from council and we've heard that from community, and that's the missing middle, workforce housing. We need a continuum of housing, from transitional housing for those that are unhoused to luxury housing and everything in between, so people have the opportunity to move through that process. So that's one thing we're really going to focus on this year, is opportunities to be able to fit that missing middle. We've talked to a lot of people that are professionals at the city, in other agencies within the area, and they fit right within that gap. They don't qualify for housing assistance, and they don't make enough to be able to buy a new house or even afford an apartment. So this is going to be a really important piece for us to hit. So just some of the numbers to hit on. We hit 57 certificates of occupancy in 2025. One thing I wanted to highlight, because we had a meeting today with Harvest, they've already sold 18 homes in the new development, and they had their first C of O on that development, which is kind of insane because it just started the middle of last year. Right now, as I mentioned, us hitting our RHNA numbers, the Citrus Flats development, the Red Tail project, that was scheduled to be open for leasing November 1st of this year. They will start leasing June 1st of this year. What we did, to kind of preface that, we did outreach through our newsletter, on our website and social media to the community, and Prior to them opening up for applications, we were able to get information out to the community, and they got 700 applications within that first week. So at this point, there are over 2,000 applications for 298 units. So it's going to be very interesting. In fact, last week, I was out with staff doing inspections on some of the buildings, and somebody actually pulled up into the driveway and said, "Where's the leasing office?" So it's definitely not gone unnoticed. So that's something that we had tested out after what happened with People's Self-Help, realizing we want to provide more access to people within the community and understanding that there's housing available. So as we have more units come online, that's the process that we're going to follow. We're going to do extensive community outreach and provide people with foresight that these things are happening and what they can do as far as filling out applications to be in the queue. And just to kind of wrap around that, fair housing law, we can't make anything that's being developed exclusive to Santa Paulans, but that doesn't preclude us from being able to do early outreach to Santa Paulans to help them be able to take advantage of these new developments. One thing I can wrap into this also is what we've done as far as ADU coming into alignment with the ADU requirements of the state, accessory dwelling units, that we put accessory dwelling unit templates on our website where people can come in and actually choose from 5 different models and be able to fast track a project by picking one of those models and not having to go through a building process, which saves them not only architecture and design costs, but also the time that it takes to have a project happen. Another piece that we did submit to HCD is that we are working on extensive development ordinance update, which includes our mobile home rent control ordinance. And our outreach is another major portion of our annual report. That's our connection with our community. And I've said this to staff. I've worked in 6 other cities, and I've never had a city where we've had this much of a close relationship with the community and being able to have the responses that we have on things. I mean, just as mentioned earlier, to have 150, 160 people show up on a Sunday to a meeting, that's for a whole city of our size. That's a good, and that was basically 1/3 of our mobile home population showed up for that. So I'm excited about what we can do together as a community to make some of these things happen. And because ultimately, regardless of what HCD requires, our ordinances serve people, and if they're a part of the process, it better serves them. So I'm really excited about that aspect of it. Trying to think what else is really important. The other thing I did want to mention is we're going to continue to advocate for housing, again, that fulfills that whole continuum, because people will have an opportunity to move up as they have opportunities within our community. And one thing, as a side note, I have a lot of conversations about how much housing is being built, and I just want to be sure that people understand that there's a lot of things, both policy-wise and administratively, that we work on beyond housing to ensure that there's a balance. And other things are coming. More retail's coming, more jobs are coming, and we're working on all those things because the community ecosystem requires all those things for us to be happy and healthy and sustainable. I'd be glad to answer any questions or go into any more detail on the report, but basically the takeaway is we're way ahead of schedule, and I'm excited about where we're headed from the standpoint of what our requirements are.
I have a couple questions.
All right, thank you, Director Mason. Councilmember Chavez?
Thank you. It's great to see how much progress has been made. For those that don't know, Santa Paula for 30 years didn't grow. It stayed the same. And that had an impact on our ability to deal with our everyday challenges, from fixing our streets. We didn't have the revenue to do it. Then the fire department got annexed, the property tax base left. And so it was the wisdom of councils previously to bring development into the community. And so Harvest, that entire community, that was not part of Santa Paula, that was annexed through a process. And so we've been growing and our boundaries have been growing. So I think one of the challenges is you have, since it's such a complex issue, not everybody can wrap they just see what they see in front of them, right? So for instance, one of the things that you mentioned was the impact that there's going to be availability for folks to move into Redtail in June compared to the timeline of November. That's one. And the other one is the bridge and the development at Harvest. These things are all going to come sooner than later. How are you going to navigate those things? Because obviously, some of the infrastructure, and in particular the corridor to get to Harvest currently is just one way in, one way out. How are we going to mitigate that?
The reality is, best case scenario, there are externalities that we don't have control over, and things will happen as they happen. And we don't have, based on land use, we don't have the luxury of telling somebody that you can't develop it if they're entitled to. So we do the best we can in collaborating between community development and what's happening, and what's happening as far as our capital improvement plan. The good news is the gaps between what's happening and where there's some challenges are months instead of years. So that's one good thing about a city growing as fast as we have. But you hit on one thing that's really important. We do have a lot of development, but almost everything we have moving forward is infill. And that growth that we have, what's going to be critical, residential development is great, but without the jobs and without retail, the revenue isn't necessarily there. So that's it's one-time revenue with residential, long-time revenue with employment and retail. So that's what's going to help us not only expand what we have as far as infrastructure, but maintain it. But I guess the main answer is, the good news is we're talking about a month's difference versus years difference in being able to upgrade infrastructure because it's already in our CIP. And the bridge, I believe, last we heard was probably next spring.
Spring, summer
Okay.
next year. And you've hit on a topic that will be really part of the workshop that we'll do this summer about how our growth is also being accompanied by infrastructure and services and changes so that the impacts to quality of life don't erode.
Great.
So-
Yeah, that was actually my follow-up question, was to you, to find out where in the timeline we're going to be discussing how all these moving parts are kind of coming together.
Yeah.
So that the community knows, there are going to be some growing pains, but we're going to come out of that through effective planning and public education and information regarding what they're going to see
Yeah.
at the end of that. So thank you for that.
I appreciate the comment because it's a conversation I have with residents weekly. And thank you.
Other councilman? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Just one question. So when will we have to be starting planning for our next housing element?
Given our last cycle, probably next year. Yeah, but the conversation I'm having tomorrow with HCD, that'll be a part of that too.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Just as a follow-up real quick, because most folks don't know that the housing element is tied to a mandate in terms of what cities are expected in terms of the responsibility to provide some basic needs, and basic needs includes housing. So can you explain a little bit about how that works so the public can understand that, decisions are made through collaborative processes, but also through policy?
Yeah, well said. Our housing numbers and our requirement to do an 8-year cycle of a housing element, which is basically a part of our general plan, is a state mandate. And the numbers that are assigned to each city are a state mandate. And not meeting those numbers, as I mentioned earlier, we don't necessarily have the ability to build the number of units that are required within the housing element, but we are required to provide land entitlements and ordinance and process that ensures if someone comes in to want to develop within the community, that that can happen. We have to show that there is a path and a pipeline and a fast track if somebody wants to do that. And a benefit, other pieces of that include things like accessory dwelling units, people that are building mother-in-laws or expanding units within their house. Those count also. But if we don't meet those requirements, that could have an impact on grants and funding and availability of support from state funding for other projects, not just housing, but infrastructure, parks, and other things like that.
And then just, again, Mr. Mayor, a follow-up, because we talked a lot about this part of town, right? And a lot of folks have been wondering about the Kmart and how those numbers play into this. Are they there yet? No?
No. And Kmart is a little bit out there, but that will still be within our cycle. And that's, I actually had a conversation with them today about looking at that missing middle that I talked about, and that's really where their focus is going to be. So that's a big assistance for what both our numbers and our needs within this community.
And then I know we were very excited about the development next to Teague Park, for instance. Is that, how is that?
It's moving ahead, again, not again, but with affordable housing, it's characterized as a lasagna, layers and layers of partnerships and layers of funding. So they're in probably the middle stages of completing funding for that project.
And how many units approximately?
They're looking at 90 units on that site, mostly focused for unhoused seniors and people with disabilities.
And it's in front of a shopping center, people could walk, it's next to a park, and
Close to schools.
those are the ideal environments we're trying to create in terms of our spaces. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Some things are beyond our control, as you mentioned. You know, the Kmart property, as Councilmember Chavez mentioned, it's really up to the developer what they're going to build. We're mandated to do RENA for lower and affordable housing. But again, it's up to the developer what they want to build there. You mentioned about the middle ground we're missing, whether it be the affordable or the workforce housing. How do we work towards that, in your opinion, to develop that, to move forward with that?
And that's one of the things in an entitlement process, or when there is no entitlement process, when someone is outright entitled to develop a property, it's about building a relationship and helping them succeed based on market. And a really good example is the Red Tail project. They came in with a requirement to do 15% affordable. And initially, it was going to be a market rate project. And they were like, oh, we'll try and figure out what we want to do with that. They looked at the market and looked at the need and said, we're going to do 60%. And so I think it's being able to make sure that they're doing a market study and we're working collaboratively. We have to do a transaction with a developer, but we need to build a relationship and be able to, because sometimes they're here and they're gone. We're still here. So we need something that's sustainable for our community, and we need to be able to relay that to them.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, Director Mason, thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I get excited about this.
Sure,
stuff.
sure.
There's been a lot of talk about, you talked about workforce housing, in particular in the education sector, for instance. Have you seen, has that evolved any further than just the concept? Are we seeing things or trends happening in other parts of the county regarding focusing on maybe supporting those in education with housing that's essential?
We're seeing a few projects throughout the county, both on education-related properties and on faith-related properties that are getting developed. So that may be something in the future, depending on what we have as far, again, infill is where our future is. So those are some things that we're going to need to look at as far as both of those areas, faith-based properties and education-based properties.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
Director Mason, thank you very much for that presentation. We now move on to City Council reports. We'll go ahead and start with Councilmember Chavez. You did turn in your written report. Is there anything you want to add or elaborate?
I did. I'm just going to have a couple of highlights.
Sure.
The first is, well, one, I think we were all in attendance at the best of the Heritage Valley, and I know it's referred to as a Heritage Valley, but that's not really an organic name. It was I always like to call it the Santa Clara River Valley because people's connection and roots are with the Santa Clara River community throughout the valley. But it was great to see our community out in full force and so many businesses from across the valley receive recognition. And it's such a feel-good opportunity for people to come together. So it was great to participate in that and have a strong support from the city council and the community. And congratulations to those at the Chamber of Commerce for making sure that that event took place and brought a lot of positive energy to our community. The second thing I wanted to mention is, obviously there's things that the city promotes and puts out there, and I want to make sure that at times we reiterate the importance of being ambassadors for these things. So one of those things happens to be the city of Santa Paula recently launched a campaign to restore the historic farm worker monument. And so I invite everyone to, if you're not on the newsletter, please sign up. Go to our website. The monument is something very special to our community here, and it represents the hardworking contributions of those in the farm worker community. And however, it is in need of desperate repair. And so you can actually buy a brick and support it through a donation. It's at that'smybrick.com/farmworker. And it's just a way for all of us to come in and support the farm worker community, and all those have contributed themselves in their lives to the betterment. I do want to mention that, there's so much activity going on. We're glad to see Cruise Night come back, our Chamber Awards, we have a State of the City coming up. And the summer is really sizzling in Santa Paula. So I encourage everybody to support us as best as possible. We have a lot of opportunities on our main street, a lot more options for folks. And so please help us build a stronger support and brand for our community. And thanks to those that are helping bring community and people and others, neighbors from around Ventura County to Santa Paula to get to know us. And then last but not least, I would be remiss if I didn't wish to born and raised Santa Paulans who celebrate birthdays today. I wanted to acknowledge Eric Veloz and Brittany Botts and everybody who celebrates today and the whole month of May. That's my report.
And my spouse, Heidi Juarez.
And Heidi Juarez.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Crossfight.
All right. And now I'm competing with fire trucks.
Oh, and there goes our
Duty calls.
calls.
All right. So I will start with, I attended the grand opening of the Cardinal Closet. So there's a similar closet at the middle school, and now there is one at the high school. It was, like the other one, it was provided, or created to provide essential items like clothing, shoes, and toiletries to students in need. There are opportunities to donate gently worn teen-friendly clothing, or they also have the Santa Paula Cardinal Closet has a wish list on Amazon, and you don't have to buy the items from Amazon, but that was a convenient place for them to list items that they desire for the closet. And so it's a mixture. When you walk into it, it looks like you've stepped into a downtown business. They've got it set up really cute, and there's jewelry, and there's brand new pants and shirts and jackets and all kinds of things in there. So it's a new space that just opened this month, and they're looking to members of the community to make donations for them to help keep it going. So if you know anyone who would be interested in supporting that, it's a great effort that they're doing there at the high school. I think we were all at the Chamber Awards, which also featured the best of. So I won't say a whole lot more about that. I have had a very busy month with the Southern California Association of Governments. Before the annual conference, I did a mobile tour of the CV Link multi-purpose bike trail out in the Palm Desert area. It links multiple communities. It goes between them, and people can ride along the flood channel, and it was lovely. So I went and did that, and then we visited Aziz Farms, which is doing or Azazi Farms, I guess, which is doing sustainable agriculture. One of their star crops is figs, but they, or dates? No, dates, not figs, dates. But they also have a number of other things, and they work with school districts to get local produce into schools. And so anyway, it was a really cool place to go visit. It's really a passion project for them. And then we had the annual conference in General Assembly, where I was voted officially first vice president by the General Assembly of the Southern California Association of Governments. At that meeting, Lucy Dunn, who it was her last meeting as our business representative, gave a report on what they're seeing in trends, not what's projected, but what they're seeing in trends for what jobs are being replaced by AI. And the study was actually done by Anthropic, which is an AI company, and they were very concerned by the trends that they were seeing because the jobs that are already being replaced were not the jobs that they had expected. They tend to be older, female, college-educated jobs. And part of how they did the study was that they looked at what questions were their AI models being asked to do. And so they can see in some of these areas like lawyers, financial analysts, software developers, computer programmers, customer service, data entry, medical records specialists, market analysis jobs, a lot of those people are using AI to generate a lot of that content. And so they were very concerned by their own research on, given what impact it's starting to have now, what impact will it have in the future? So there's a report out if anyone is interested in reading more. I could get that to you. I also went up on last Tuesday, not yesterday, last Tuesday, I was up in Sacramento. SCAG sponsored the Latina Action Day and conference. So I went to the conference portion, and then as the Southern California Association of Governments, we did legislative visits with Assembly members Bennett and Irwin. And then I spent the last 2 days out in Washington, D.C. I got up at 2:30 West Coast time to travel back here so I could be here tonight. And we did a couple of days of advocacy around surface transportation reauthorization, and then the gap funding. There's still funding that's needed, even with all the investments that have been made towards the Olympics. There's still a gap in funding, especially for transportation-related issues around the Olympics, and so we were out advocating for the importance of that. By this time, when Salt Lake City hosted the games, which was a much smaller games, they already had over $2 billion in funding that had been allocated, and we're now less than 2 years from the games, and we're still asking for less than that amount as the gap funding to get us over the line. So we will continue, and there's many transportation agencies that are also joining in that call. They need to bring in over 1,700 buses from around the state because enough funding didn't come in early enough to actually purchase buses or trains. And so they need to be able to borrow stock from around the country. And in order to finalize those agreements, they need to know that money's going to be coming in to cover them. So that was a big issue that we were talking about. And then also there's a Senate Housing Act, and the House recently made changes, and so it's looking like it's probably going to go to conference. We were supportive of the Senate's version. There's some things in the House version that we're not so excited about, and so it'll be interesting to see how that gets worked out between the two houses. And then the last thing is the Clean Power Alliance had their annual rate-setting approach. We'll officially adopt rates at the next meeting, but we chose to go with the approach that keeps the historic comparison rates that as we've been trying to do over the last several years. So it will keep the lean product will continue to be cheaper than Edison, the clean will be on par with Edison, and the green will be at a slight premium to Edison. And then customers who are low income, who prove that they're low income, get the green rate for the clean price. So they will pay no more for clean power than they would if they were a customer of Edison. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Nellis?
Well, like all of us up here, I was at the Chamber Awards also, and it was nice to see everybody and catch up with some people I hadn't seen in a while, and nice to see the different businesses get recognized. I do want to give a shout out to Javier Manzanares. He's our animal control officer. One of the neighborhood cats unfortunately got hit by a car, and it was right outside my driveway. And so I went on the city website, and it took me a little bit, but I found the email for animal control, so I emailed. And I just wanted to share how amazing this gentleman is. Within 20 minutes, I had gotten a response and the animal had been picked up. Less than 20 minutes. So I want to thank him for his hard work and being so responsive, and even sending a follow-up email, like making sure that I knew that the animal had been picked up, and that if I needed anything else, just to reach out. So again, just thank you to Mr. Manzanares for being so attentive and communicating so quickly. I think that's all that I have. Probably forgot something, but.
And he was a police explorer, correct?
And he was a police explorer. But it was just great. I was sitting at work, and, who wants to call and say that there's an animal that got hit by a car outside their driveway in front of other people or around other people? So I really appreciated having the option to email on our website, and how responsive he was. I thought maybe, in an hour, 2 hours, they might get to it. I'm telling you, within less than 20 minutes, the animal had been picked up, and he had taken the time to respond by email. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him and thank him for his hard work. That's it.
Thank you for that. And I'll add on to that I called animal control a couple weeks ago when a peacock ended up dead in my backyard. Huge. And he informed me that we've had several killed on Ojai Road because they're walking across Ojai Road and cars aren't stopping. And this morning, Rotary recognized their crossing guards, so it's too bad we didn't have peacock crossing guards. Otherwise, they would still be alive. Okay, so I've been gone for a little while, so I'll try to be brief, but on April 21st, I attended the Arte and Cultura Collective. They had basically a workshop at the community center. Went to the Chamber Mixer at the House of Magic on 4/23, Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on April 23rd. I went to a Business Connect at Santa Paula Materials over on Lemonwood. That was on 4/24. I think several of us attended the Arbor Day celebration at Glen City School on 4/24. We're now our 5th year of being a tree city. And I went to on 4/29, went to the K-9 fundraiser at the community center. This one I'm particularly proud of, and that's the reason I missed the council meeting of May 6th was I went to Reno, Nevada to attend the Independent Order of Odd Fellows Conference, which I go to every year, and I'm honored and privileged to have been elected as this year's Grand Master for California. In the 203-year history of Odd Fellows in the United States, there's only been 174 Grand Masters in California, and I'm the 174th and the first one from Santa Paula. I went to the closed session on April 14th, and then the Chamber of Awards, as most mentioned, on April 14th as well. There was a hospital planning meeting at the Latino Town Hall on Saturday the 16th that the city manager and I went to, and as a follow-up, Latino Town Hall is hosting a hospital forum on Tuesday, April 26th, and Councilmember Chavez is going to represent the city. Myself and Councilmember Cornejo are on the Blue Ribbon Committee, but we are both unavailable, but Councilmember Chavez will be going. And last night was the Leadership Academy. It was at Park 1055. We had 17 graduates, correct? And
16, I think.
16. I had on my calendar in August to recognize Kathy Berenger for her 100th birthday, but unfortunately she passed away yesterday. Kathy Berenger is a longtime resident of Santa Paula. She was the wife of Carl Berenger, our mayor from the city of Santa Paula. She's also the co-founder of the Santa Clara Valley Hospice. And so tonight, and she was also Citizen of the Year. So I think it's more than appropriate that tonight we will adjourn this meeting in memory of Kathy Berenger. And that's my report. Now we go on to city managers' reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I had an opportunity to join Vice Mayor Crosswhite out in the desert for the SCAG conference. So did Monica Castillo, our city attorney. It was nice to support that and also to go to some meaningful breakout sessions and keynote. This is Public Works Week, as you recognized this week, and so we had a Taco Tuesday lunch yesterday. There's a barbecue for our staff this Friday. I'll be out of town, so got to enjoy the time with our crew yesterday. Was also at the Chamber Awards, as Councilmember Chavez said, just a great coming together of so many, our business community, but our civic leaders, our community members. So it was a really nice event. And I was also at the hospital meeting on Saturday to plan for Tuesday's community workshop. We're promoting it. It's free to the public. And Ventura County Hospital System will be there to present, as will a panel of others, to talk about the future of healthcare services in our valley. Last Monday was the Rotary's annual Scholarship Awards reception, and it's always such a feel-good opportunity to see the young men and women that are coming up headed off to trade schools or college or junior college and getting scholarships. Rotary gave out over $50,000 this year to, I think, 19 recipients or 21 recipients. But notable, especially for me being there, is that of those 21 recipients, 3 of them were children of city employees, which I think must have been a first. We've had some city employees have their children get scholarships, but to have 3 of them was really remarkable and very special. And then last night, as the mayor mentioned, we had the opportunity to graduate our second cohort for our Future Leaders Academy. I'm going to ask the clerk to pull up a little video of that, and then after that, I'll also respond to Councilmember Chavez's request. But why don't we do the video first? There's no talking, so. That was the mock council meeting they did. So the graduation dinner last night was at Park 1055, and it was just really nice. A number of the graduates brought spouses and family members. They were given, obviously, graduating certificates, but also awards. And we even had certificates from Kelly Long's office and Julia Brownlee's office, so they got congressional recognition along with a little swag bag. So it was really, really nice opportunity to engage with our residents and supporters, and to have their enthusiasm for learning about local government. And I think we have some new ambassadors as a result. And then finally, Councilmember Chavez, in response to some public questions, was asking about next steps with the mobile home rent control ordinance. We've, after Sunday's workshop, we've begun internal discussions about next steps with our city attorney and community development director. We're not agendized to really talk about that, but why don't we plan to give you all within the next few weeks some schedule. We're sensitive to the milestones that were discussed tonight, as well as a date for March, which would represent the 1 year from the last appeal. And so we'll do our best to work within those dates. We also have to be careful that we're not rushing this. We have one shot to bring forward an ordinance that can withstand legal scrutiny and is appropriate for this community. So just know that we'll work to get you guys a schedule soon.
Are we expecting that to come to the Housing and Homeless Committee?
It can, yeah, it can.
All right. Any questions for the city manager?
I have a couple.
Good.
First question, obviously, there's so much movement happening in terms of our public works, and we just recently passed the 5-year, phase 2 of the next 5 years. When do we expect to release information to the public so that we can really let everybody know what's coming down the pipeline?
Well, our city engineer just met with the contractors, I believe, and now has a sense of the timing. I'm hopefully not getting ahead of him, but let him respond to that, because once we have that timing worked out, we'll then start the public outreach.
We had a kickoff meeting with J&H, who's our contractor, the past week. They were surprised that we were so on top of giving them a contract. They were expecting to start in the fall this year, and we said, no, we need you to start right away. We're looking at a July 1st start, and they've given us a tentative schedule in that direction. We need them to nail down, they're doing some storm drain rehabilitation work that we'd like to have happen before they pave Fern Oaks. So there's some sequence questions. We know that they will be starting on McKevitt Heights per previous commitments. We reminded them of that as well. But tentative start date is July 1st, and we'll look to get both the Public Works website updated with that information, as well as a schedule of streets and expected timing, so that we're communicating that well with our residents.
And we'll do a press release, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then will that also include the work on our favorite streets?
Well, good news on that, which Bob will share with you.
Yes, we have a contract that's been issued to Toro Enterprises, and our project manager is reaching out to them to set up a kickoff meeting, perhaps for as soon as next week, to again secure a schedule so we can get that information on our website as well. So ideally, we'll get that work done over the summer, and there's just a lot of good stuff that's going to be happening. But we've got the Public Works staff involved in all these meetings, so that they're in the loop as far as communication of schedules, timing, and are ready to update as we see these updates happen with the streets paving.
Thank you. And then I just had another question I wanted to ask the city manager. If we can do some outreach, maybe through social media, to let folks know what recourse they have, because I've been getting a lot of calls and emails, social media about certain streets that they have traffic safety concerns. And if there can be a way to maybe run a campaign on social media to let people know how to navigate through that. Mm-hmm. Do they just send an email to Public Works? I know there's a traffic committee. What is the public's, how can the public navigate through our system
Sure.
to raise those concerns?
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with Public Works, and
That'd be great.
we can do some outreach.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. So now we'll move on to the consent calendar. Background information has been provided to the city council on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine by the city council and are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested by a council member on any item or a member of the public wishes to comment on an item, that item may be removed from the consent calendar for a separate action. And we don't have any public comment for the consent calendar, do we, Madam Clerk?
No, but I have a question on 10D.
I also had a question on 10D.
So maybe we just pull that one and then
Sure. Okay,
I would move approval of items, A through C and E
okay,
on the consent calendar.
all right.
Second.
So it's been moved by Vice Mayor Crosswhite and seconded by Councilmember Chavez to approve the consent calendar items 10A through 10E minus 10D, David, which was pulled. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you so much. Your question, Vice Mayor, on 10D?
Yes, on 10D, I have a question. When you have a punch list, I think this is a question for Bob. When you have a punch list, how do you confirm that the items on the punch list have been completed? And if there's items on that punch list that weren't completed yet, will they get completed they picked up since it's the same contractor in the next cycle?
Yes, that's correct. We retain a retainage as noted in the staff report. Some of the items on the punch list, like the storm drain on View and some of these other things were deficiencies in the storm drain that will be addressed in this next PMP cycle when the contractor's up taking care of McKevitt. They've isolated most of the manholes and valves and raised those to grade. So many of the other punch list items are done.
There's one more sewer cover. So I just want to make sure that if we approve this tonight, that it gets taken care of in the next contract.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They have their list too.
Okay.
Any other questions? So mine is similar, Mr. Woodward, and that is, I talked to the city manager today about this staff recommends accept the work performed by J&H under 1, accept the work performed by A&H, and these are for the 2024 citywide street maintenance and the 2025 fall pavement management. What I didn't see, either in the staff report or Exhibit A or B, is what exactly we're approving, where those improvements were made. Nowhere. So if somebody were to look at this down the road and look at the agenda or the exhibits, it doesn't actually list where the work was done.
That's fair. They were not attached, the scopes of work from the work. That's correct. We go back to the scopes of streets that were approved in terms of that. The idea is to initiate the process of closing out the contracts. As Councilmember Crosswhite said, that we'd be taking care of any of the remaining work under the retainage of those. But yes, that's a good point. We would have to go back and post those scopes of work as part of these, and we can do that in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be beneficial to the public if somebody were looking at it and say, well, I want to see what was repaired, and the council approved, so it might be beneficial to either add it as an amendment or in the future. Okay? All right, thank you. That's my question. Is that all you had?
Motion to approve. Item 10D.
Okay, so it's been moved by Councilmember Chavez to approve consent calendar item 10D and seconded by Councilmember Ornelas. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, it carries. Thank you so much. We're going to go on to now item 11, public hearing. And this is for the 11A, Ventura County Watershed Protection District's Benefit Assessment Program for fiscal year 26-27. Verification and posting by City Clerk.
Yes, publication was done.
Declaration of any conflicts, if any. All right. Declaration of ex parte contacts, if any. Very good. We'll now open the public hearing and the staff presentation.
Mr. Mayor, I have to take a quick call.
Sure.
Emergency.
Did you want us to take a recess?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. And this is going to be presented by, forgive me. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Mr.
It's not
Goodman.
going to be presented by Bob,
Thank you so much.
apparently.
Thank you, thank you.
So this is an item that we have to do every year. And so there, in our stormwater system, there are a couple of components that we have to fund and things that we have to do. There's the NPDES permit that we have to have, and that requires us to do certain things. And then there's also the MS4 that we have to, that requires us to do other things. And in order to be able to get those things done, money has to be generated. And that's really what this item is about, is the generation of those funds through the Ventura County Watershed Protection District's Benefit Assessment Program. So this year, the Ventura County is assessing the same amount as they assessed last year. So each household in the city is assessed $37.74. And that's divided among, it goes to a couple of different places. It goes to the city, it goes to a couple of places in the county to take care of stormwater management issues. And so each, there are approximately 9,990 benefit assessment units, households, and in the city of Santa Paula. And at $37.74 each, that will raise approximately $375,421. Of that, most of it will stay with the county. About $66,000 will come back to the city for us to do our portion of the NPDES and the MS4 requirements. And probably the main thing that we're trying to do is protect the watershed here and keep stormwater flowing where it needs to flow, make sure it isn't being contaminated, so the ground, the aquifer doesn't become contaminated, et cetera. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Councilmember or Vice Mayor.
So, and I assume we don't have any public comment because this is a hearing.
We don't have, do we have any that came in? No, we don't have any.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I asked a question. Do you know, and if you don't, that's okay, because we can't change it this year anyway, but whether or not the county, I know they've had some staffing changes, whether or not they have readdressed at all the amount of this assessment? It has been this way for a very, very long time, and it doesn't raise enough money for any of the things in any of the cities that this is supposed to cover. So do you know if the county has looked, because they're the ones who have to actually set the number, we have to adopt it.
Right.
But they have to actually set the total number.
Right.
And do you know if they have taken that conversation up at all?
I don't, but I can find out.
Okay. I know that I've been asking this for a while. Oh, do you have? No.
Just from memory, I know when the previous Public Works Director was here, every year he would bring up that it wasn't enough money. So they're aware, but I don't think that they were inclined
I
to.
just think that we need to make sure that we continue to remind them that, along with the other cities in the county, that this is not enough money to do what we're supposed to be, the work we're supposed to be doing with this funding, but that they're the ones that have to take an action if there was anything that was going to happen with it. So I just think it's something good for us to keep on our radar, to keep on their radar.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a good point, because each year, in effect, the amount goes down, because costs go up, and yet the assessment has been stagnant since before I got here.
It's been stagnant for probably a couple decades, so it's not, the money doesn't go nearly as far as it once would have.
And the regulations go up.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I asked a question of the city manager today. Is this subject to a 218 Prop 218 challenge?
Let maybe the city attorney respond.
So the 218 proceedings are the responsibility of the county. They're the ones that conduct that, and then
So it wouldn't fall on us at all?
no,
Okay.
then we adopt the fees.
Okay, that's the only question I have. Thank you, Mr. Goodman. At this point, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and discussion and action. Any further discussion?
I would move that we adopt resolution number 7615, authorizing the city manager to allow city participation in the Ventura County Watershed Protection District's Benefit Assessment Program for fiscal year 26-27, and continue the city's assessment of $37.74 per benefit assessment unit per year to fund a portion of the city's stormwater management program.
I will second it.
Very good. So it's been moved by Vice Mayor Crosswhite and seconded by Councilmember Ornelas. I want it noted that I did offer, Councilmember Chavez said he had to take a phone call, so I offered him if he wanted to take a recess. So he's not going to be available for this vote. So
And if I could ask, can I put him down as recuse or abstain for this vote, Councilmember? Absent. Okay, thank you.
okay, and I guess just for clarity, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote of the three present, please.
Councilmember Ornelas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Crosswhite,
Yes.
Mayor Juarez.
Yes.
We have a 3-0 with Councilmember Chavez as absent and Councilmember Cornejo as absent. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. We're going to move on to action item 12, but I think this is important enough that we should wait for Councilmember Chavez. Let's take a 10-minute break. Or 5? Hopefully 5. All right, thank you. Good evening. We're back on the record after a quick 5-minute break. We're moving on to action item 12A, which is a lease agreement between the City of Santa Paula and the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley for the use of 1400 East Harvard Boulevard. I would like to at this point declare that my spouse, Heidi Juarez, is a member of the Board of Directors, uncompensated, but has been a member for years, and I do not have an actual conflict with this item. And so presenting, Mr. Mason, Director Mason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the recommendation you have before you is to approve a lease agreement between the city and the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley for use of the facility at 1400 East Harvard Boulevard, and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement and take actions necessary to implement the lease. Quick recap, the city owns the property and has leased it to the Boys and Girls Club. So this is a renewal, but a little bit different format from what the lease was before. But the site includes a gym, offices, classrooms, and parking areas. And really just to continue to support the Boys and Girls Clubs and the long-term partnership that we've had with them to provide youth recreational opportunities and after-school programs. The public park and public park area surrounding the facility will still remain within city control and for public use. The lease structure that we have on this is a 15-year lease structure, and with an optional extension for 5 years upon mutual agreement between the city and the lessee. Annual rent is $1 per year, as it was before. Some of the responsibilities have shifted a little bit, but the Boys and Girls Club are responsible for utilities, maintenance, repairs, janitorial services, building upkeep, and compliance with laws and regulations associated with the use of a public property. And the city will retain rights of ownership and retains access to indoor basketball courts for municipal education, recreational programming. And also, additional provisions, standard insurance and indemnification as required by the city. Limited subleasing is allowed for child development resources, which does the after-school programs there in First Five. And all uses must remain consistent with community serving and youth programming. And that's as a nonprofit, and what we're providing as far as a rent requirement. That is consistent with what we've had before. So the community benefits of being able to do this are pretty apparent, but just to state, it continues to support the youth and recreational programs. It strengthens our partnerships and provides a structured programming and safe recreational spaces for youth within our community. It also reduces city operation and maintenance responsibilities and community services without requiring additional staffing. So it's definitely a benefit to our community that they provide. This is in alignment with our strategic plan in 4 specific areas, and that's that youth development was a high priority within our strategic goals, recreational opportunities, public-private partnerships, and efficient use of city facilities. The fiscal impact is minimal from the standpoint of direct financial benefit, but the kind of secondary and tertiary benefits of being able to partner with the Boys and Girls Club is the reduced maintenance costs on this building, as they're going to be taking care of maintenance and janitorial services and upkeep, reduce operational obligations, and expanded community services, what it would take for us to run programs for youth and children for after-school daycare programs and things like that. It really helps us out from that. So what's before you is really just to approve a lease agreement as recommended with the Boys and Girls Club. And I'd be glad to answer any questions. And the director is here also if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mason. Go ahead, Councilmember Chavez.
I have a question, maybe you can answer it. Is the Boys and Girls Club, that property, does that sit in the Harding Trust?
It does not.
It does not, it's separate, it's just
Separate.
owned directly by the city?
Yes.
Okay, the one thing I want to make sure, I'm all in favor of this, as to continue not only tradition, but it's having a safe place for kids and kids to be at and so on. But I do want to see that the city gets some sort of acknowledgement for this contribution, and I notice that there's no recognition by the Boys and Girls Club on their website. So we're underwriting a significant cost for space. I'd love to see that the people of Santa Paula know that their city government has made a decision to basically create a subsidy for an organization that's truly valuable to the community. So I'd just like to see that take place so that the community knows, right, that we're making this investment.
We can work with them on that, and thank you for asking.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. Others? Gabby, or Councilmember Nellis?
I'd like to make the motion to approve the lease.
Second?
Okay, so it's been moved
Thank you,
by,
Pearl, for everything you do. And I just wanted to share something that Pearl shared with me at the Chamber Awards, that there's even more improvements coming to the clubhouse, so I'm really excited for that. And I already told her to let me know when it happens so that I can go see it and be there for whatever it is, like the unveiling. I know a lot of our students and families benefit from everything that's offered there, so I'm grateful that as a city, we can continue to do this for our youth and all the families that need it and that really appreciate that it's available. Thank you.
okay, real quick, it was moved by Councilmember Nellis and seconded by Councilmember Chavez, and we were in discussion. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, do we know what year the Boys and Girls Club occupied that space?
1949.
Seriously?
You were 25, right?
So what happened was Chief Tom Moore formed the Santa Paula Police Boys Club. There's a bronze plaque that hangs in the building, and it commemorates that he was one of the founding members of that, along with Horace Dow and several other people. So if you go behind and you go to the Senior League field, that's called the Tom Moore Field.
So for the benefit of the general public, this is a long-standing relationship that has existed between the Boys and Girls Club. And so it's not like this is, a new thing in recent years, but for those who don't know, there's probably a lot of people that do, it's been in that location for a very, very long time. So thank you.
More discussion?
Can we use a new logo so that you can help us promote the city? Thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
And then part of that motion is not only to approve the lease, but also to authorize the city manager or designee to sign the lease.
Yes,
Okay.
all of it.
As amended.
Thank you.
All right. So
As amended.
moved in and as amended? Okay. Just one more quick thing, a little bit of history here. So it has served a lot of people, and you're right, their we just recently celebrated the ribbon or the toilet paper cutting of their restroom, because it's a big deal, right?
It was.
And I understand they're going to be working on their kitchen, and it benefits not only the club, but also the potential for the club to, either utilize it themselves or rent it out. So it's a great space. And on a personal level, when it was the Boys Club, I was a member from 72 to 78. I was a member of the Santa Paula Boys Club, and then it went to the Santa Paula Boys and Girls Club, and now the Santa Clara Valley Boys and Girls Club. So it definitely serves the community and has for a long time. I turned out all right. So, and Ish Cordero, he and I both were there at the same time, and he turned out all right too. So, any more comments? If not, all in favor for approval of agenda item 12A, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Very well. The item passes. Thank you, Pearl. You're very welcome. Okay, we'll move on to item 12B, third quarter fiscal report, and that's by our Finance Director, Christy Ramirez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to report for the activity through March 31st, 2026. However, because we catch up with the sales tax that is a couple months behind, we actually include data all the way up to the date that this is written. So you'll see a bit more than the data through March 31st. Overall, we are trending on par with expectations, with one significant change for charges for services, which we'll get into in a second. But I will say that while that sounds incredible, it is actually the revenue that we're going to receive next year. So not quite as incredible as we had hoped. So starting with charges for services, we have, again, as I just mentioned, an increase in plan check fees that was expected in fiscal year 27-28. So you'll notice the almost 600,000 that was received. None of it was expected this year. The 28,000 is just regular plan check fees that we were expecting. The other item that is totaling the 272,000 is the miscellaneous department reimbursement for the summer camp program. So that is the reimbursement from the activity from this past summer that just was not budgeted. So that is good news because it was not anticipated. Next, we have the licenses and permits. We have on the opposite side of the plan check fees, because again, we've always talked about how there's a timeline, right? It's plan check fees, building permits, the completions and whatnot. We're having a shortfall in the building permits than what was expected. That 1.4 million is essentially all of what we are going to receive for the end of the year. The remainder should just be small permits that come in, but not big development related. So we are recommending a decrease of $250,000 to that line item, 18,000 to another, and 12,000 to another, for a total of $300,000 overall in licenses and permits. We do have some changes recommended for intergovernmental revenue. That is a $20,000 decrease to the post reimbursements, because we do not anticipate that those will come in through the end of the year. I will follow up with the chief. I wasn't able to ask him on whether it's due to a lack of response from posts in getting those payments, because they are sometimes behind, or if it's a lack of staffing being able to submit those payments, but we will circle back with that. We also have another $160,000 increase in the grant funding, this time for the winter and fall sports program. I know it's weird that those are in two different categories, but it's the way that the funding sources were set up originally. So overall, there's a $140,000 increase with those two line items put together. Fines and penalties are expected. All three of these categories are coming in as expected. I will say that the commercial refuse haulers, which is the franchise fees for commercial refuse for trash, seems like it's higher, but as you'll recall, that revenue is related to AB 939 that is then used to fund Fund 205, which is always in the red by $200,000 or $300,000. So while it looks like that is an increase above the budget, it's because the expenses were posted elsewhere. In this next budget cycle, we will make sure to budget those revenues in that other fund. Then we have other taxes, which are coming in as expected. The TOTs, they're a bit behind on their payments. We finally have someone back in accounts receivable, and they'll be putting a little bit more pressure and communicating with those hotels to make sure that they get caught up. But we're not worried because what has been submitted is in line with projections. Business license fees, the majority of that activity is completed, and we are seeing the actualization of our projected revenues. And the real property deed transfer tax is pretty on par with what we expected. We are recommending an increase of a little over $80,000 to property taxes secured because we continue to see the increase of that. And we may even come back at year end because we just did the final completion of the RDA where we gave them back the remainder of the money that was sitting in the fund. Everything should be completed. They're going to distribute that remainder, which is about $300,000, so we'll get a portion of that, and then any other residuals that may come in. Lastly, for the larger categories is sales tax. We are recommending a decrease of about $100,000 for the general sales tax. It's just to be safe. For the other two, they are coming in as expected and even projected to come in a little bit higher for Measure T, Measure R. That tends to be the case. General sales tax just seems to be falling a little short on where we projected. And then we go on to the expenses. So what you'll notice on the line item, the one request for general fund expenses for a $10,000 budget increase is that we're asking for a little bit of money to fund a lot of things. And the reason for that is because we have found savings, and by we, I mean the city manager's department. We found savings in other existing line items. We had savings through the vacancy of the DCM position for a couple months. So really, while we're only asking for $10,000, we wanted to be very transparent in the transition of some of the other uses of these funds, including $25,000 to continue the facilitation of the employee engagement survey and all the good work that's being done there, $20,000 to help with organizational assessments, and I believe there was one other thing, but those are the two big line items for general fund. For other funds, we have two items that really should have been included in the budget. They have been included in the past, so they'll sound familiar to you. It's just that work had stalled on them, so they kind of fell off the radar, and now that it's getting picked up again, we do need those budget adjustments. So the first is $200,000 for the WRF blower replacement program. Again, it was originally adopted quite some time ago. It just wasn't included in the budget process. And the second is $100,000 for the catch basin trash excluder project. In the past, this was presented to you as a capital improvement project, but it's really not. It's not a big ticket item. It just happens to be that we have compliance issues that we need to spend a lot of money on small items that cost, $4,000 to $5,000, probably won't even be capitalized. It's just a lot that we have to buy. So on that note, we will be requesting $100,000 per year for the next 4 years. This is still in line with what was originally presented to you in the original CIP that was presented. It just so happened to be $50,000 at the time because we thought we were going to start some time ago. And then lastly is an additional $16,416 for a part-time parks and abatement specialist. This position or the increased hours will be specific to the Community Facilities District and the East Area 1. So that will be funded through the 504 fund. We do have about $80,000 in landscape and maintenance funding that we receive annually through the assessments. So the accumulation of those funds has paid for the $90,000, $95,000 that you approved in the past, and $160,000 for landscaping, and now this $16,000 for staffing. Because of that change, we'll also have a change to the, and I shouldn't have said salary chart, I apologize. I should have said the position control list. The budget adjustment is included in the staff report, but again, the position control list also should have been included. So that leads me to my last slide, which is corrections. If you choose to approve this item, if you could amend the recommendations to say what it says and add and update the position control list, and also to add the 2 GL codes that are listed above, 206-5, 5026, 610 for the catch basin excluder, and 610-5, 98-3, 83-660 for the WRF blower replacement increase. Both of those were saved in our system, but for some reason it didn't get saved in the final version. So that will also need to be included. I will make sure that the city clerk has the redlined version of the staff report as well as the updated position control list for the records. Any questions or comments for me?
Questions for Director Ramirez? Go ahead, Councilmember Chavez.
We're on a 2-year budget cycle, right? So in your experience of looking at numbers and trends, we see some shortfalls the first year, and then we kind of make up for it. In terms of our sales tax data, our data from second quarter doesn't come in. Is it in already?
We are 2 months behind on data. So we will never know the final number until August 25th, 2026 in this year's case. So the way that I can explain it is every quarter, the first 2 of the 3 payments don't mean too much because it's really based on the prior year's data. It's really the 3rd month that is the true up. So we now have at least 3 quarters worth of true up. That's why you're seeing me present a little bit more conservative numbers this time. But still, with everything that's going on, we're still looking pretty on trend to what we projected, and I think that's a success.
And so by, let's say, December, once we get past July 1st, I just don't want to be put in a situation next year where we're like, oh, wow.
Yes.
A big,
I think by August of this
By
year,
August, okay.
we will be able to see the impacts on tariffs and increase gas prices and all those things, because they'll be reflective of the activity through June 30th.
okay, great, thanks.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
The director covered my questions in her report.
All right, thank you, Director Ramirez. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Hold on, we need the extra language.
What was,
Do you have it?
do you remember?
They're going to pull up the slide.
Motion to approve with the following corrections, update position control list to reflect the FTE increase, to reflect additional hours for PT, parks abatement specialist, and add general ledgers 206-5-5026-610 for catch basin excluder, and 610-5-9383-660 for the WRF blower replacement increase.
I'll second.
All right, so it's been moved by Councilmember Chavez for approval of the budget, including the corrections listed on the board and read by Councilmember Chavez, and seconded by Vice Mayor Crosswhite. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Ramirez. We'll move on to 13 future agenda items. City Manager, we have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just really quickly, first of all, Vice Mayor Crosswhite pointed out that I didn't capture on the future items the request to look at the nitrous oxide issue, so we will add that onto the forecast. I did want to point out that it's looking very likely that on June 17th, we'll look to do a study session. So we'll need to convene council in the late afternoon on that date. Other than that, no.
Okay, and is it my understanding that on the first meeting in June, which would be the 3rd, we may have interviews for committees that are vacant?
We don't anticipate that's going to happen.
No?
I'm anticipating those for the July meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And on that note, we are still actively soliciting.
Absolutely.
So pass the word out, because we'd rather maximize your time and bring those interviews together when there's, multiple applicants.
Can you remind us what positions are open in those seats? By any chance? The Parks and Rec?
Well, we have the Housing Authority.
We have the Housing Authority, 2 positions,
Okay.
two openings at large. We have one for the Senior Advisory, I think. I don't know, we're guessing.
They'll be on the
I can
website.
tell you right now.
Yeah.
We, and some of these are not coming up until July, like Senior Advisory Committee, we have one opening starting July 2nd. We have Measure T, we have one opening in June. We have the mobile home, we'll have one opening in July. Parks and Rec Youth will have one vacancy. And Santa Paula Housing Authority, we have 3 vacancies. We're hoping to fill for the June 15th date. Design Assistance, Historic Preservation Committee, June, we will have 3 vacancies. Affordable Housing Trust Fund Oversight, we will have 2 vacancies in June. And that's what we have coming up. And we're hoping to try to put those on the July, I believe it's 17th meeting. The one meeting in July is our anticipation to have enough applications to bring to you.
And these are because they're ending their term, right? They're not resignations?
Terms are ending, and each person their term is ending, emails have been sent to them, so we have gotten some applications back in for renewal, and that's always great. But we do have quite a few openings here, so we're hoping to get more from the public. We'll be sending out some more social media to see if we can get some more applicants before we set up interviews. It's always good to get as many as possible.
Maybe some of our recent graduates from our Future Leaders Academy.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, would it be possible that we ensure that whoever finishes a term, that we provide some sort of recognition, whether that's a certificate or they're invited to come to council? Because some of them have served for many years, and I think it's good closure.
Absolutely. If we
Their
can
service.
try to keep that on our radar to make sure that as they leave, they get, something to remind them of their service, like an application to apply for one of the positions.
I do send them the application, so.
All right. Thank you so much. And I do recall that we were going to wait until the expiration of their term so that it's a lot cleaner, so thank you.
That does help.
We're about ready to adjourn, and as you recall, I had made a comment that Kathy Berenger, a longtime resident of Santa Paula, was going to turn 100 in August, and I had it on my calendar to recognize her when she turned 100. Unfortunately, she did pass away yesterday. Kathy Berenger was a longtime resident of Santa Paula, married to Carl Berenger, former mayor of City of Santa Paula. She was also a Citizen of the Year, as was Carl Berenger. And she was also the co-founder of the Santa Clara Valley Hospice. So with that, I'd like to close this meeting tonight, May 20th of 2026, in memory of Kathy Berenger. We are adjourned.